Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. As we know, we'll talk about all the things that happened with our best and worst of the weekend. We'll get into the highlights of that, as well as the lowlights. We'll get into the latest with Razorback football. Transfer portal had an addition today and still some more to come, so we'll get into the latest on that. Talking about some Razorback basketball and some of the updates there, and get into your chats and all of that great stuff here on this Monday. But fellas, hopefully the weekend was a great one. How are the vibes here on this Monday afternoon?
My vibes are okay. Yeah, I've bounced back from that basketball game on Saturday. I'm looking forward to the next one. That's the first step in the process. Feeling good about what Arkansas's got going on in the portal. I'm excited to be here talking to you guys today. And once again, I noticed this. We have the intro. Andrew's mic is muted again. I'm unmuting you. We're not having it. Actually, it won't let me unmute you because you can only do it for yourself. But it happened again, and I was not going to let you get got twice. This is ridiculous. StreamYard's out to get you.
Thank you for doing that, Curtis. I have now unmuted myself, as you can see, but I didn't see it. When you said that, I had no idea. It's messed up, and we'll look into this. I want to start by addressing the Razorback baseball team. Everyone listening right now, I know there's probably the entire squad. Y'all are probably gathered around in the locker room watching. First day back at classes, first day back at school. Nice little break. Hope you enjoyed it. I know you got practice later today. We're scrimmaging on Friday. That's going to be awesome. We're all excited. Let's get in this classroom and let's lock in. Let's get some stuff taken care of. Let's get ahead of it. Once the season starts, you can start phoning it in the classroom. That's perfectly understandable. We accept that, but you can only phone it in then if you get to work now. So take care of your business, go to syllabus week, get on top of things, and then lock in on the Natty.
There we go.
There it is. Well, that's the thing is that, yeah, school has officially started it back. And it's also funny about the streamer thing. It's always the third camera person that I've noticed. It's always them. Because it's happened to Dudley and now it's happened to Andrew when they're the third chair. So I don't know. Maybe it's something.
Dude, it happened to me. There. It happened to me like a week or two ago.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, maybe it's not the third chair. Maybe I don't know. Some sort of gremlin here in StreamYard. But
you know what I've noticed? It's never John.
Silence and other.
It's true. That's true. It's true. Yeah, I just got that secret setting over here that just mute everybody else's mic, but not my own. But that's okay because again, we're going to try to get to everything today. And I know again, it's a chaotic time. We're entering into the final few days of the transfer portal for Razorback football and all football. Yeah, and I think everybody's kind of at the point where like, all right, let's see how it goes down. And there's some people that are waiting on maybe some possible or potential big pops, or maybe this is just kind of putting the final finishing touches, kind of placing some bodies here and there. But I guess we can at least talk about the one that they had today. And I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name right. Jelani Watkins. I hope that's correct. But he is a kid that's transferring from LSU. He was a wide receiver this past season, 5'10", 160 pounds. Now, coming out of high school, he was a 4-star player. He's a track athlete, ran the 100 meters in just 10.01 seconds, I believe. So a phenomenal athlete, but he was a 4-star coming out of high school, the 216th player overall. And then if you look at the transfer portal rankings, at least scoring on 3, he doesn't have one. Just not even ranked, not even into the mix there, or anything like that. Special teams specialist, if you will. I know that's been thrown around a little bit, but guys, as I know we try to talk about and react to each and every portal edition. What do you make of this latest one and getting a wide receiver / specialist from LSU in Jelani Watkins?
Can never have too much speed out there on the field, you know. So Jordan Anthony, the football track. Who was the other one? Wasn't there another one? He's a running back or something, and then he
Oglesby, maybe.
Thank you, Oglesby. Yeah, Oglesby. Yeah. So yeah, the Arkansas's made a habit of doing things like this. I don't know. I don't know anything about the kid overall, except he's very, very fast. So we'll see how they can use him and everything. I wonder if they're getting to a point where they're pretty close here with their pass catchers, maybe. But yeah, it's interesting pickup for sure.
Yeah, you know, I think he's listed as wide receiver, obviously, because, you know, they don't just list college athletes, unless you're a long snapper. They don't just list you as a kick returner. I feel like kick returner is going to be the headline here. You mentioned the sprinting speed. I mean, one of the top 100-meter guys in the entire country. So that's interesting. Obviously, it's going to be cool for him where he gets to go to the coolest track program in the country. You know, if that's what he wants to do, cool. This guy's from Louisiana, and he's a high 3-star. And as we know, Louisiana 3-stars are like 7 stars, actually. So that's awesome. He grew up like on the Mississippi River. So, I mean, he was bathing in the creek. Like this kid's homegrown. Like, this is awesome. Another guy that this coaching staff, we mentioned Georgia and Louisiana are their 2 kind of hotbeds. So someone they seem to be familiar with. I'm excited about this one. He's like 160 pounds. So, if they're going to use him on offense, probably need to bulk him up a little bit. But I think to start off, this is going to be a pretty good kick return option. Maybe a little gadget, maybe a little end around, maybe a little, deep shot here and there. But I think the kick return is the big thing here, and that'll be cool.
Yeah, because let's be honest. I mean, it's like if you're a guy that you can just get the ball in his hands and see what happens. I don't know if he can catch. I have no idea. I don't know if he's going to be able to run the right routes. I have no clue. But I'm hoping he's just one of those guys that, hey, just find a way. Because this is what, not to bring up the Petrino thing, but that was the thing I've always liked about Petrino. It's like, if you can scoot, if you can go and be a big playmaker, then just find ways to get the ball in your hand and then go from there. But like I said, is he going to be more of the specialist and that's his thing, or is he actually going to be on the offense? We'll see. Because I felt like, what was it? Bryce Stevens was one of those guys that was always a wide receiver, but you never really saw him much a wide receiver. He was always there in the specialist game. So you have that at least for him. You're about to say something?
I think I know the answer to this question, but he's no longer on the team, right? Bryce Stevens?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I know.
I think this might have been
He
our
wasn't
first
last year, right?
This was year 1 of the post Bryce Stevens era.
He's just around for the longest. Because I'm with you. We heard so much. He had the that one memorable punt return touchdown. Then it was like, yeah, dude's been on the team for 8 years, but we never see him anyway.
Yeah, it was the same thing with when I guess he was on the EA Sports college football game this past year the whole time, and I'm like, I don't think he's on. It doesn't do anything. I guess it was very strange how it all happened that way. But yes, he was another guy that was there too, and so. But looking at it from the perspective of wide receiver, because we'll throw this guy into the wide receiver slot. I am not going to come out here and say that, oh, man, the wide receiver group is bad and it's all terrible. None of them are any good or anything like that. And it's not over yet, so they could still add somebody. But I will admit that given the situation with quarterback and how it's so uncertain, and then throw into the mix of these wide receivers where you're kind of like, okay, I see this. Obviously, getting Chris Marshall was big, but we know about his off field and stuff that people always bring up. I'm trying not to say it's a major concern to me, but it's just one of those things where I'm kind of like, I was hoping for maybe a little bit more from an offense that's reportedly based very much in the passing attack and very much in a passing game, to have a complete and total uncertainty at quarterback right now, and to have just a couple wide receivers that we've at least seen and we know about them. It's a little thing to where if you're going to get hyped and hopeful for, at least where it stands right now, it's going to be based on potential, not about like evidential, like things that you've seen so far, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think I was hoping maybe we get a whoa or two, at the skill positions. I like a lot of the pieces that they've gone and picked up. I think they're going to be fine there. It just seems like they've got more. They got a bunch of guys, but maybe not a whole bunch of dudes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is kind of a thing for Arkansas last year where you looked at it and you're like, okay, I like some of the pieces. It's a nice room. Maybe they have some depth, whatever, but where are the stars? Where are the draft picks and everything like that? Talon wound up not being what they thought he was going to be. Mike Washington wound up being better than they thought he would be. Omega was good. Hopefully they've got some guys who emerge and they will. Like somebody's going to catch footballs in there. And I think it's a better group. Well, I don't know about that, actually. Do we feel like it's a better group of receivers on paper coming in than what last year's was?
I personally don't.
Omega carries a lot of weight there because Omega we knew was going to be pretty good and was a legitimate wide receiver 1.
Marshall, the kid from New Mexico State is good, but it's New Mexico State. I like the kid from Memphis, but it's Memphis. So, I think I'm with you, John.
So not including this LSU guy who, like I said, I know he's in this conversation, but we'll include him. Say that's 4 transfer wide receivers. Chris Marshall, I feel like, has probably the highest ceiling of all these guys. Sure. 6'3", 211. Like, if you can keep his head on straight, you might have yourself a legitimate go-to guy. But of those 4 guys, I think it's a safe bet that at least 2 or 3 of them, 2 of them are like real contributors that you can count on. Will catch passes for you every game. of the group that's like CJ Brown, Ishmael Cece, Jalen Brown, Courtney Crutchfield, that's 4 guys returning for you that have caught passes. Courtney Crutchfield, I think maybe like 1 or 2. You're going to need at least 2 of those guys to really not only replicate what they've done, but kind of take their game to a new level. So there's a chance they get away with it where it's like, hey, it's not a good wide receiver room, but we made it work. We've got 5 guys that are pretty serviceable for us. But I'm with you. I'm kind of not disappointed, but it's just interesting to me. Like there are every position group. You can't have stars at all of them, especially given Arkansas circumstances. You got to pick and choose your battles. It seems like they're kind of okay to just have a bunch of guys at receiver without there really being difference makers.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, because again, we're in a new era, a completely new year. And, we talk about when Silverfield was hired, he didn't bring over any of his defensive staff, brought over his offensive staff. And we know that their offense, statistically speaking, was really good. I think that they talked about their offense being, top 25 essentially all 4 years, the past 4 years for Memphis. And so there was just a lot of like, okay, there's familiarity there. There's confidence there. We know Silverfield's on the offensive side of the ball type of guy with the O-line and everything. So I'm not saying I overlooked it, but it was almost like, okay, well, I feel better. Let's see what the defense, though. The defense is where it's at. The defense is where it needs to be. And then, when it starts to settle in, you look at this and you're like, okay, like they added a few guys from Memphis and everything. And honestly, at this point, it might be the offensive line that I'm feeling the best about on the offensive side of the ball, which is not a bad thing. But they've added some pieces there. We know at the tight end, they've added some pieces. But yeah, with wide receiver, running back, they're still, I know you got Braylon Russell, Cam Settles that people are excited about, but Sutton Smith and Jasper Parker, okay, you added them. Wide receivers, can't forget about Donovan Foppel, the kid from New Mexico State. You got him. Like they got, as you said, Curtis, it's not that they have dudes, they have guys. And again, and maybe it's just all, if the quarterback situation, I felt a lot better about, like if you had somebody that was a bona fide starter and had been around and everything, maybe that would make me feel a little bit better about it. But it's just to say that, they'll add more pieces, but say if the pieces that they've added on offense, this is kind of it as far as their higher level guys or their big contributors. Is it bad? No, it's just mysterious to where I'm like, dude, I hope that this can be really good. It could potentially be really good. But just because of the uncertainty, there's also a chance where they could go out there and it's just be kind of a mess and kind of an experience. Because again, you're going to Utah week 2. Like, I mean, it's you got to have some guys that are able to live up to that experience. And just where it stands right now, I feel a little bit eerie about it. And that's really what it is.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is weird for me because, and we just talked about the receivers and, we could look at quarterback and go, well, I feel fine about KJ and AJ and the competition thing is cool, but there's obviously uncertainty there because there's not a whole lot of experience. And then running back, going into last year, none of us thought that Mike Washington was going to be what he wound up being. So maybe you have a guy who does that for you. But if you look at it on paper, it's like, I don't know, did they replace him? Like, I hope the Michigan kid winds up being really good, or I hope Sutton Smith can give you a change of pace in the SEC. So there's a lot of what ifs, but I actually went into this myself expecting some regression offensively from Arkansas. Not because I don't think they'll have a bad offense or anything like that, but there was a lot of window dressing with what Arkansas did with Bobby Petrino, and he ain't walking back through that door. So I don't know that I'm expecting Arkansas to be top 10 in the country in total offense and, all those things that they put out there. And then we were just mad because it didn't always translate to points. So it's just going to be kind of a different style of football. I hope that they make enough of a stride on the defensive side of the ball. Goodness gracious. I hope that they do to where it kind of balances itself out a little bit and you got a pretty good football team.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair way to look at it. And I think what's tough about this is, what we do, especially this time of year when you're building this class, is we look at all the information we have available, which isn't the entire picture because there's, guys are going to get better. Things are going to play out a certain way. You don't know, but all the information we have available to us right now in mid-January doesn't point to a ton of difference makers on offense for the Arkansas Razorbacks at quarterback, running back, or receiver. That is not to say that they won't show up, but that's what makes it tough for us is that what this is going to be determined by is, hey, this spring and this summer, this culture that they're trying to build, they're trying to install this offense. It's going to come down to how much does it really resonate with these guys? How much do they buy in? How many of these guys that we look at on paper do you maybe find something more than you expected during spring practice when you get out there and start running? And a lot of this stuff is, one, to be determined, but also like we have no way of really knowing. We'll hear what the coaches tell us and we'll kind of try to put things together based on that, but it's going to come down to this summer. KJ's going to, these guys are going to get together and throw every day this summer. And it's like, some of these guys are going to develop a rapport and maybe find something cool and they can build on that, but we don't really know. And so there's like a lot of options and you can kind of see it going a bunch of different ways, but we just kind of have to get into spring ball. We know what they have on paper and it's not super, starring or anything crazy like that, but we'll just have to get into spring ball and maybe see if there's some guys like Ishmael Cece and Mike Washington were both guys that coming out of spring ball, we were like, dang, these guys might be better than we thought. We're going to need a lot of that to happen on the offensive side.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And then one of the things that we're going to talk about will be some potential there for some players that Arkansas's got to look at. But I want to remind everybody that the Fight House of Northwest Arkansas is the newest and greatest boxing, MMA, and strength training gym built just for athletes, competitors, and anyone ready to really push their limits. From high-energy boxing and MMA to training to free weights, elite cardio equipment, sleds, cross-training, Fight House Gym offers and delivers everything that you need to train at the highest level. Push your body to the edge and then recover like a pro with the cold plunge that they have going on, as well as the saunas designed to keep you strong and ready for more. Whether you're a seasoned fighter or just starting your fitness journey, this is the gym that meets you where you are and pushes you even further. This isn't just a gym, it's a mindset. So Fight House Gym is now open at 10131 Webway in Fayetteville, exit 58 off of I-49. You can sign up today at fighthousegym.com or call 951-623-9745 and step inside and bring the fight with new Fight House Gym in Northwest Arkansas. So looking at it from also another thing that people were maybe a little bit excited about, guys, but there's no true connection to it, is like, hey, are these Metcalf boys coming home? I think that's what people are wanting to know, because you had TJ Metcalf enter into the transfer portal over the weekend, and then you got Tevin that entered into the transfer portal, his brother. Razorback fans are getting all excited. I know that there's possibly some other options, but that's a couple, one of those guys that I think every Razorback fan would be just fine them returning back home and being on this defense side, even though I just talk offense, but it'd be nice to have those guys back into the defensive mix as well.
It would be cool if that was the case. I don't know that I'm holding my breath necessarily. It'd be awesome. I know they missed out on the Clemson. Where did he go?
Vandy.
The Clemson safety,
Yes,
Vanderbilt.
Vandy.
That's right. It wound up going to Vanderbilt. I know that there's some other guys that they've been in on as well, but yeah, that's they got to shore some things up back there. That's one of the areas I think they could stand to add a dude. I saw somebody in the chat earlier that said, "Can you define guys versus dudes?" And guys, it's a jag, just a guy. Fine, serviceable, steady, reliable. The dudes are like your stars. Like the draft picks, the guys that are real difference makers for you. And I think safety is a position where they could add that. Is it going to be the Metcalf bros? I don't know, but I would be all over it if it was.
Yeah, I would also say a dude is someone that teams have to really talk about in their meetings. I don't think teams were in meetings being like, hey, watch out for Jaden Johnson at safety for Arkansas. He was a guy that was just out there, and it's like, hey, that's their guy. It's not like a, real guy that you have to scheme for or anything like that. But I think safety's the one position left where if we were going to get a quote unquote dude out of the portal in this remaining few days here, I think safety would be the leader in the clubhouse of like, if you're going to make one more notable, spend some money, actually go out there and try and make a big move, it would have to be at safety. And frankly, I'm surprised that they're not involved in the Metcalf sweepstakes seemingly, or at least not reportedly like in the mix, getting him on a visit and all this kind of stuff. Who knows? It sounds like he's maybe visiting Tennessee, but I'm a little bit surprised, especially now knowing that the Clemson guy is not coming. I'm like, man, that's kind of Metcalf is kind of your only remaining option that makes a lot of sense, right?
I mean, I would think so. And it could be one of those things to where, which I'd be fine with, to just, we find out because the University of Arkansas football Twitter account just posts out. It's like, welcome, TJ Metcalf, and tags him in his Twitter and everything. Be like, all right, cool. I mean, we'll roll with that. But yeah, I feel like, there's always connections that you see, and there's ones that is like, it just makes so much sense of why you would want to add these players. And you mentioned at the safety position, it's like, it just makes too much sense to not at least be heavily involved. And maybe they are, maybe it's just behind the scenes and we don't know about it, but at least to be in contact with it, at least to talk about it, at least to dive into it a little bit, would make a lot of sense to me. But I don't know if it's something that, they're just, you got somebody else in mind, or they're recruiting somebody else. don't really know. But man, if it's a big if, but if they were able to get TJ Metcalf, both the Metcalfs back to Arkansas, I'm not going to sit here and say it's the greatest defense of all time. I'm not saying that. But man, I'd have a hard time remembering the last time I felt as good about a defense going into a season personnel-wise than I would this season. And I feel really good about it. But to kind of shore up that position at safety, especially in being in the back seven, again, that would just be something I feel like would be something you can hold your hat on and at least be really excited about the potential that could be there defensively and being one of your better defenses you've had in quite some time.
Yeah, I'd start feeling really good about that secondary, I think, because I do like the corners that they've added. I'd be really intrigued by that if they were able to make it work. I still don't know how, like the defensive line I think is going to be better. I think there's more depth there, but I still don't know how good it really is. And if we're talking about one of the better defenses Arkansas has had in a while, what are we talking about? The last couple years or the last decade? Linebacker, I like Kamori House. I was disappointed in Sori and Steven Dix last year, but I don't know. There's still some unproven there in the front seven to me, but if they shore things up at safety, they'd be looking pretty good on the back end.
I think at the very least, the floor is a lot higher for this Arkansas defense. Whereas like even preseason, before anybody got hurt, we looked at the roster last year and we were like, oh my God, there is a very clear path to them being the worst pass defense in the SEC, the worst defense. And I'm not saying they can't be, 15th or 16th in SEC in total defense. Like they always, it's always possible. But I feel like you're at least, at linebacker, they could probably afford 2 or 3 injuries and they would still be able to play guys that have played Division I football before and like are adults that know what to do and can line up and you don't feel too bad about it. Corner, they could do that. Safety, they really don't have that luxury. Like they really only have a couple playable safeties that you could even really put out there. You're going to need probably one more real difference maker and then another person that can just get some snaps, or you're going to have to move some of these other guys over to that position. Like, that's what I would love about the Metcalf duo is you'd be getting a starting safety, but also a guy in Tevis who's been around high-level football for a while and could maybe play some safety, play some nickel, play some corner, probably need another piece there. And then with the D-line, you want to talk about just a bunch of guys. The defensive tackle situation is very much 4 guys who are just guys. And so that may be fine. And honestly, with what they're going to have at edge, potentially with a couple real difference maker pass rushers, maybe that's enough. It is much, 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 much better than last year's D-line situation, but I don't know where it stacks up in the SEC, but I do, again, think the floor is higher for the group, where I don't think this is going to be the worst defense in the SEC. I feel actually pretty confident it won't.
Yeah, because they just felt like they never got to the quarterback, which is crazy because Quincy Rhodes did. But like besides that, there was just never really that added pressure in it. And we all know, guys, like if you have a great D line or a defensive end or somebody who's great to get to the pass rusher, but that's all you have, it's not easy, but it's much easier as an offense to take him out of that because it's just like, well, just double team him. And then we don't have to worry about these other guys getting to him. It's fine. But that's what I'm hoping that in this particular year with the D line, because we know what type of difference it can make getting pressure on quarterback, where if you just have 2, it's hard to double team 2 guys. Much less 1. So just have something to where you have that pass rush, you have that pressure that can get added, and you at least are the threat of it instead of everyone just going into the game, just be like, hey, all we got to do is block this one guy and we're good. Like, no, like have the threat truly of having some pass rush and having there. And that also, as it all goes together, domino effect, it helps the secondary out. Like you're talking about, like it helps out all those guys and being in the right position and hopefully being a lot better than what we've seen here recently. So, but we'll continue the conversation, folks. Appreciate everybody tuning in, but want to remind everybody that Blue Ember Smokehouse is one of our great sponsors here at Inside Arkansas. We love ourselves some Blue Ember because it is specializing in handcrafted barbecue. It doesn't matter if it's tender brisket, home cooked sides, whatever it is, you're going to find a hearty meal for every single member of the family because they have the highest quality meats, applying their signature blend of spices and slowly cooking in their wood-only pits. And they allow the meats to rest to ensure optimal tenderness and cut right in front of the customer to provide the transparency and satisfaction in every bite. They also cater a lot of events. So if you ever need them for weddings, parties, business meetings, any gathering where a group of people need to be fed some amazing barbecue, Blue Ember is going to have you covered. So just contact any of those stores that are right there on your screen. They have 6 of them across the state of Arkansas. It doesn't matter if it's Fort Smith, Jonesboro, Texarkana, Little Rock, Hot Springs, Rogers. There's their contact if you ever need any of your events, having them cater it. And reminder that Inside Arkansas Live will be live at Blue Ember Smokehouse the first Wednesday of every month. So check them out today by going to blueembersmokehouse.com. You can also check out all of those locations there in Arkansas. It's Blue Ember Smokehouse. And thank you for supporting your local Blue Ember Smokehouse. So, yeah, guys, I keep kind of wondering if we're going to have a pop today, and, it's just kind of transpiring everything. Do you feel like this year's portal's been maybe, I know we can talk about like grades and all that, but fun? Like, has it been fun? Has it been, keeping you on the edge of your seat, kind of interesting of like what they're going to do and how they're going to do it? Like, how does this transfer portal season compare to the previous ones, which I know probably isn't saying too much?
I'm enjoying it. I kind of like the urgency with which this has to happen. Like it's hard to keep up with, it's like a 2-month or a 2-week sprint, but I like this more than it dragging out so long. Like I'm not looking forward to basketball portal season because it's going to be a short window again, but then you have all damn summer for them to figure out who they want to take and everything. This with the enrollment and all that right up against it. I like this better, man. Figure it out. And it means you got to be really good with your evaluations and you got to develop those relationships fast. But no, it's been exciting. There's just a level of newness too and freshness with the new staff. We're trying to figure out how they operate and everything. So it's I'm enjoying this one more than I was last year. That's for sure.
I mean, it can't be overstated. Telling us exactly when the 14-day window will be and just cramming everything into there for guys like us that kind of live for stuff like that, where it's just a spur of the moment. You need to be available at all times. It's a lot easier to be that way for 14 days than it is for 2 months. So I really enjoy that a lot. And I also think, to your point, John, it has been more fun just with the Razorbacks where you don't spend multiple weeks being like, crap, what are they going to do at O-line? And we sit here and talk about it for 2 weeks. We talk about things they need to do, and then 2 days later, they do it. And then we, can see how we feel about it. And then, not to grade Arkansas already, but I also think the coaching staff has done a pretty good job. And, will that be enough? Will that be great? I know we want to be awesome. I think they've done a pretty good job, which I wouldn't have said last year.
Right. Yeah.
Not after some of the additions, obviously, that they've made in the last 24 hours. I don't know that I was necessarily expecting this one, but UAB's Iverson Hooks, the wide receiver, has committed to Oregon.
Joining Dylan Raiola.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah. Yeah. What does Oregon have that Arkansas doesn't have, Like, why would you want to go there? So, but he was one of those.
I tell you, one thing they have recently is an ass whooping on the football field.
Yeah. I can't wait to talk about that, man. Cannot wait to talk about that. But yeah, I know that was a guy that they were on, but it's just so funny to me. And, I know we follow it and we cover it. And I know Dudley's on top of it as best as possible too, but it's just funny where it's like, you hear something hot and heavy about a player and all of that. And then after a day or two, when you stop hearing things, you're like, yeah, he's gone. He's not coming. You just kind of have the feeling. And this is kind of what happened with Iverson Hooks, where it's like, I heard about him. I was like, okay, yeah, this would be a good get. And then a day or two goes by and I'm like, yeah, he ain't coming. Like there's just, if you keep hearing things about it, you keep hearing some momentum about it, it's something, but that's okay. It's like, you're not going to get every single player coming out of the portal that you want as much as you'd like to. It's just not going to happen. But I know people are still kind of waiting on, I guess, is it still Malcolm Simmons who hasn't decided, but I still don't, I just don't think it's going to happen. It's kind of the same thing. You stop hearing about it and you're like, all right.
Apparently he's asking for like funny money and nobody wants to give it to him. So
that's the stuff where it's like, I relish in people that kind of get humbled by that a little bit of like, because I'll just tell a really quick story, guys, dealing with NIL. I'll never forget Jaden Hazelwood. I'll remember him. I was doing NIL deals with student athletes when I was at the Buzz, and we were trying to sign it. And I was thinking, like, before the season started, I was like, who would be a kind of an exciting player to talk to, I can have an interview with. I was like, Jaden Hazelwood, 5-star player. Everyone's excited about it. And I talked to his rep, and, I'll also be transparent. It was like, we had a sponsor, but we paid him, a few $100s per interview for 10 minutes. Like, which I think is a great deal. Just you get 300 bones or whatever, and then you're just doing it for 10 minutes. All you do is, and you get softball questions. Anyways, his rep was like, yeah, he's going to need $1,800 per interview. And I'm like, no. And then like literally 2 days later, he comes back. Well, how about this? How about this? $700 per interview. It was like, no. And then it moved on. But my point is, it's like, and I'm not saying this is anything against Jane Hazelwood or anything, but man, people get greedy and then they start doing that. And then they get humbled really quick. They're like, oh crap. Yeah, I went too high. What about this? I'm like, because if you went from $1,800 to $700 in a matter of days, It's like, come on. So that happens pretty often, I'm sure, a lot in this stage.
Yeah, on second thought, I will take that gift certificate to Slim Chickens. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. With the what was the type of chicken you called it? Flaccid chicken.
Flaccid chicken. Yeah.
We don't need to go down that road.
If the bird is floppy, you gotta, it's suspect, man. You just gotta be careful. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. But great lesson for everybody involved. Don't get greedy. Don't get greedy. Because I also saw that I guess LSU signed Sean Leavitt. So, there's that, I guess.
Kiffin got his guy, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. Or sorry, Sam Leavitt, not Sean Leavitt. Sam Leavitt. Oh, is that Sean?
Yeah.
So he has no relation.
I was looking at the numbers earlier. Y'all know when Arizona State went to Mississippi State, they ran the ball for 250 yards, and he threw the ball for 82 yards and 2 interceptions. So now I'm wondering, with Lane Kiffin, with LSU, with the better roster around him, could he crack the century mark on the road in the SEC? You think he could throw for 100 yards against an SEC squad? We'll see.
Yeah, time will tell. I'll tell you when he's not going to do it. The final game of the season against Arkansas. I can tell you that, because those Metcalf boys are going to be locking them down. We're going to have some new fly.
You don't want to see 2-pick TJ, buddy.
That's right. Yeah, we're not just going to have one no-fly zone anymore. We're going to have an entire area of no-fly zone going out there. But yeah, I mean, that's Sam Leavitt. Because the reason I brought that up too is just seeing like the amount. And I don't know how much it's true. I feel like it's a lot of it, but seeing some of these guys and what they're asking for and all that. Hey, get your bag, get whatever you can. But sometimes it's just like, man, I don't know if that's where you want to start. Like maybe work your way up to that. But just you get these people like, here's how much we think you're worth, and then no one wants to pay it. Are you actually worth that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that's your worth anymore.
It's getting kind of crazy, man. I was going to have this for one of my worst of the weekends, but I know we have so many similar things. It's going to be one of those. But did y'all see, like Ty Simpson announced that he's going to go to the draft or whatever. But now the reports are coming out that he's fielding offers like, hey, if you hit the portal, some schools are saying they'll pay him upwards of $6.5 million. 6.5?
That's crazy.
For Ty Simpson? He's good, but sheesh. That's a lot of money, man.
Well, it's just weird because I'm like, wouldn't that like completely affect everything that you do in the portal? And so I'm like, how are teams just like randomly with 3 days left being like, oh yeah, we've got close to $7 million laying around. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah, and I know I like bring it up with like Cal and everything, but it's like one of those deals where he may this guy, just using it as an example, he may go to the NFL and be great. But I'm like, so many of these dudes, I'm like, you are not even going to get close to making that much money per year once you're done with college. And I just really, truly hope and pray that you have good financial advice and good leadership and encouragement of people making sure you're spending wisely and invest. Like, because this idea that's like, hey, I'm just going to have that forever. Nope. Like, this is stupid money that some people are making. And as horrible as it is, some of these guys that stay in college, or like you could go pro and stay in college and then they come back, I'm like, I think it's because they know they won't make it pro and they're just going to try to get as much money as they can, which is fine. But once the college career is over and you're 23, 24, 25 years old, hey, get a job at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. They'll pick you up, man. They give you the tools to be your own boss, but you ain't making no $5 million a year doing it. I mean, it's just it's unheard of, and it can be dangerous, I guess is what I'm saying. It can be just really dangerous for some kids.
It's wild, man.
I mean, listen, and we obviously know that kids that stay at their schools make less than they're supposed to make. You know what I mean? Like the prices don't usually reset, which is why I think when you look at what Arkansas is doing in the portal this time next year, a lot of these portal guys they brought in that are 2-3 year guys, if they're able to retain half of them, that would be so massive. When you're sitting there looking through your roster and you're looking at all the things you're going to have to replace, if you're able to retain a lot of these guys for, I would assume, cheaper prices, which is what they're doing with KJ Jackson, like that could be the move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I also love it too, guys, because I know we'll get to some other things, but you always think back to when you hear interviews with former great players that were the pre-NIL era. You're like, how much money could you have made in the NIL era? It's like, there's some of them that, yeah, for sure. Like, here in Arkansas, Darren McFadden could have just picked his price probably, like he could have made that type of money, or Ryan Mallett, anybody like that. But then there's like some guys that I've seen interviews with, and they're like, oh man, I could have had $2-3 million per year. I'm like, I don't think you could have. I really don't think you could have. But it's just this heightened sense of you have confidence in yourself and you're young and you think that you have a lot of value, which you may, but it's just, again, it's all over the place. And it's just really hard to keep up with at times, but I'm hopeful, man. I'm hopeful. We'll get into some other things too, folks, as well as your chats, but want to remind everybody that Drain Masters of Arkansas is also one of our great sponsors here and Inside Arkansas, because we know that anytime that you have to deal with plumbing or drain cleaning, whether it's your home or in a residential area, it's tough, man. It's tough to where you don't really know where to turn. You don't really know what to do. It's not just something you can go to the local drugstore and get some supplies and, hey, it's all fixed up. You're going to need serious work because it could cause more damage if you try fixing it yourself. So don't worry about it. Call the masters, the Drain Masters of Arkansas. They're going to have you covered because they service the entire state of Arkansas as well as Oklahoma and beyond, and they are ready to handle all plumbing and drain cleaning needs with professional and reliable service. So to request a service today, just give them a call, 479-646-5585. That's 479-646-5585. You can also scan that QR code there on your screen, take you to their website. And when you do get a service, folks, be sure to tell them that Inside Arkansas sent you, because when you do that, you get 10% off all your services. Doesn't matter how big of a job it is. Doesn't matter how many services you're needing. Whenever you get that done and you just say, hey, Inside Arkansas, we love them and we want to be able to have a 10% discount, boom, you're going to get it as long as you just say Inside Arkansas sent you. Anything and everything plumbing related. No job is too big or too small. Have Drain Masters of Arkansas and the fine folks over there have you covered. I know we'll continue to talk some football, but on the basketball side of things, Curtis, I saw that Arkansas, the AP polls come out. So do we have a new ranking for the Hogs? How far did they drop after that absolute spanking they took on Saturday?
2 spots. They dropped down to 17. And I tried to prepare people for that in the pot at the Palace this morning, because it's easy for us. We're all in the trenches with the Razorbacks, right? And so they have a game like that, and you're like, oh, good God, they're going to drop out of the poll now. A lot of teams got beat down like that over the course of the weekend. Like, look at what happened to Tennessee. They got beat worse than Arkansas did. They're still ranked, and they were behind Arkansas in the polls. So there were a lot of teams that struggled. Alabama lost twice. They got beat by just a gross Texas team at home. They actually dropped behind Arkansas. So the Razorbacks dropped 2 spots. They're still at 17. They're still in a good spot, and that's the thing. Again, I get it. Like, that was a rough game for the Razorbacks. You just got to try to understand the context a little bit. You never want to see that. You never want to go on the road and no show. Like Cal said, sometimes you just got to burn the tape and then get back to work and get after it. You look up, if you kind of step outside the box, you take that 30,000-foot view. Here we are. We're in the middle of January. Arkansas typically hasn't won a game yet in this month. They're 2-1 in the SEC. They're 12-4 overall. They're top 20 in the country. They're in way better shape than they normally are. You got South Carolina coming in here Wednesday. Take care of business, and you're really in a fine spot. Yes, they got to get better defensively. Yes, they got to stay healthy. All those things are true, but there were a lot of people that just completely jumped off the bandwagon after that game against Auburn. I'm like, good Lord. Nearly every team in the country has taken one beatdown this season, and this is the first one that Arkansas got, and you just got to learn from it and get better, but they're fine.
Yeah, in preparation for our SEC basketball show tonight, 8 p.m., everybody be sure to tune into that. You started to really realize how many teams don't have that much leverage. You know, when we're sitting here talking about who's good and who's not, the only team in the SEC that really I feel that way about is Vanderbilt, who nobody else believes in. Everyone still thinks Vanderbilt's, kind of sus. Texas A&M's 3-0. I don't think any of us think they're good. You know what I mean? So it's like you look at some of the teams that have these big wins and look good on paper. I don't know if you really believe in them. And then a lot of the teams that got waxed and, looked horrible on Saturday, I think we all agree are going to be fine. Like Bama, Tennessee, Arkansas, they're all going to make the tournament. They're all going to be fine. But it's like it's a weird time right now in college basketball.
Yeah, and I know this is probably not going to be a direct connection to it, but hey, do you guys think Florida had a good season last year in basketball? I think so.
I would argue, yeah.
They went on the road and lost to Tennessee 64-44 last year.
Yep.
So I'm not saying that's it's a championship bound. Just saying that like even teams, national championship teams, great teams, you just have some stinkers. It just happens. It's not excusable as far as you should just be, this is great. I love getting my taint handed to me against a team like Auburn. Like you shouldn't be happy, but it's not like, season's lost, team sucks, everything's bad. It's just sometimes it's like that. And so you just got to bounce back.
Just don't do it again.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And that's the biggest thing. Like you can't let one game beat you twice. Hey, burn the tape. Sure. We don't want to see that movie again though. Like you can't have a sequel. So burn it, get rid of it, get out of your system, and they'll be all right. I'm looking forward to Wednesday though. If you're a team that sucks defensively and you're trying to figure it out, the best medicine is to see South Carolina in your home building. That's, this needs to be a pretty inspired effort on that end of the floor. That's all I'm saying.
Sometimes you gotta find the heavy set woman at the party and take her home.
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna say sometimes you just have to have a good bleed. Just bleed like a warrior does.
The bleeding stops now. We're done bleeding.
Yeah, I'm not even going to repeat what Pope said last week, but sometimes you have to have that too. So, but either way, yeah. So Arkansas is going to be moving on. They got South Carolina again. These 8 p.m. tips, I'm not going to complain, but they just suck. Because I just looked at it, guys. Because you had 8 p.m. against Ole Miss, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have 8 p.m. against South Carolina. And your next midweek is 8 p.m. against Vanderbilt, and then finally you get a 6 p.m. game in the midweek against Oklahoma on the road. But then the next time, LSU 8 p.m. And then the next time you get, I guess, A&M at 8 p.m. So I don't know. It's just
a lot of that Oklahoma game for being 6 p.m. though, because that's huge for us.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We're going to be there in Norman, boots on the ground, saying what's up and hanging out with Eddie Radosevich, our boy. But it'll be fun to be over there.
While you had that schedule pulled up, what time is the game this weekend at Georgia?
3 p.m.
3 p.m. Okay, I can live with that. They're getting these weird times.
Yeah.
Was it 5 p.m. the other day? I get it because it was an Eastern time zone game, but
Yeah. It's like you got that, and you have LSU's at 7:30 p.m. at home. Kentucky's at 5:30 p.m. at home. And then Auburn's at 7:30 p.m. at home, which I know we talked about, but that's the same time Razorback baseball's down in Arlington playing their night game at 7 p.m. So we're going to have dual action of basketball and baseball at the same time. But then Missouri's at 3 p.m., 4 to 7:30 p.m. And then the final game, this is what I hate the most. Not that it's at home in Arkansas, but the final game you play is on the road against Missouri, and that's an 11 a.m. game. So just
yeah, I don't like that. I am good with this one coming up though. Just felt like Arkansas needs a little rest, maybe.
Yes.
So you skip the Tuesday thing, great. Now you play on Wednesday and you play a late tip. It's almost like getting a full extra day of rest in there. It feels like they need that, but then they gotta, it's like you get the late tip on Wednesday and then you have to travel and play a road game against a team who's going to be at home all week. So like it comes back to get you this weekend, but I think they need the day before this South Carolina game.
Yeah.
Hopefully it helps Carter too.
Yes, that's another thing too, is that we got to be on the lookout, because what is it? Hip pointer, I think is what Cal said he may have had in the post-game press conference. So because I know he's dealt with a little bit of injury. I know we're going to get to the chat, folks, and everything. But do you guys mind if I bring up and we talk about this Keshan Hall clip?
It's a good time to do it.
I think it is. Y'all remember Keshan Hall? He just went for like 80 against you on Saturday. Only missed 3 shots. Just was a certified bucket. Not saying that if he had a bad game, Arkansas would have won, because there was still a lot going on. But definitely didn't help when he decided to just turn it on and look like a man among boys out there, as he finished with a mere 32 points, 11 of 14 from the field. Threw in just 5 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 block shots, a steal, just absolute dominance. And a lot of you remember that Arkansas was kind of, recruiting him, talking to him and all that. Well, he made this statement after the game in a press conference, and I thought it was pretty fascinating. Take a listen.
Man, I come out thinking it's going to be a special night every night, man. You know what I'm saying? All glory to God. He pushed me through it, but my teammates, the coaches, they get me through and give me the confidence. But in real life, if I have to be personal with you guys, I know it's going to be bulletin point for the next game, but I took this game kind of personal. I came through the transfer portal. Obviously, came here. Arkansas was one of my top 4 schools. They didn't recruit me as hard as the other guys they wanted to. So I give them that. So I treat this game personally. You know what I'm saying? They thought guys was worthy more than me. So every time I play them, it's going to be personal.
Great. I'm not saying he's wrong or anything, but as a Razorback fan, I'm like, Dad gummit. You always got to take, why did you have to take this one personal? So it's like, but luckily you get him again, you get him at home, things could change. But I was just like, I hear that, I was like, yeah, no wonder he was out there just balling out. He did the Michael Jordan, and I took that personally type thing.
Yeah. And everybody's got something that motivates them. You know what I mean? But there's also 2 sides to every story. Like he tried to commit to Eric Musselman when he was in the portal the first time, and they passed on him because they found some red flags there that they weren't crazy about. And after the year that they just had with so much drama in the locker room and everything, they were like, nah, we're good. But yeah, I mean, Cal did recruit him out of the portal, and I don't know if they found similar red flags or what their reasoning was, but I do know that he got a nice bag to go to Auburn. And I'm not, people like to say that Cal doesn't do bidding wars, but what he really doesn't like to do is pay somebody 2 or 3 times more money than everyone else on the roster. Like, he likes to have it fairly consistent there. Hall would have commanded a pretty big bag. And if you're looking at it and you're trying to retain Carter, a wing, and Trevin, who plays the 4, and Billy, you also got a lot of positional redundancy there. So there's a lot of reasons why that wound up not happening. Auburn turned out to be a better fit because they graduated or lost their entire team and needed to get somebody who could come take a ton of shots for them. So whatever, but you can look at it in hindsight and go, damn, it'd been nice to have that guy. Could you imagine him and Akuff, as a 1-2 punch in there? And when he says something, the part of it that really struck me was they felt like other guys were more worthy than me, because that sounds to me like he wanted to come to Arkansas again and was told, hey, we're going to go in a different direction. So that means you either took Ewan or Pringle, instead of Keshan Hall. And I know you needed the 5 men there, but that kind of adds a little bit of salt to the wound if you're a Razorback fan to just watch what he did to you.
It certainly does, and it probably should, frankly, when you just look at not as much Ewan, because I think he's going to end up being kind of what Arkansas needs of the 5, but specifically the Pringle aspect. Although I just, I'm glad you mentioned the fact that there's more history than just this past transfer portal thing, because I wonder with Keshan Hall how much that plays into his motivation. Because frankly, I feel like the trying to commit to Eric Musselman and not getting the green light, that's way more of a thing to actually be salty about. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm wondering how much he's kind of blending in his brain, and like they thought other guys were more worthy. That frames it like it's they took Nick Pringle over me thing, and I just don't think that's right. An actual realistic retelling of what happened.
Yeah. And it's like, again, if it was something to where they took, I know this isn't what happened, but like if they took like Darius Akuff over, Keshan Hall, I'm like, I mean, it's still, but if it came to find out, I think that's what you said, Curse, would like rub people the wrong way a little bit, is like, well, they took nothing against Pringle or Ewan, but it's like, you could have had somebody like that caliber, that type of player, it would have been fun too. But also, let's be honest, guys, it's because he 2-pieced you over there in Auburn. And exactly. It comes out like if he would have had just a ho-hum game, when I say a ho-hum, like 15-6 or something, and you still lost, even everyone would be like, okay, buddy. But it's like he has the game of his career, or at least the game of his season, and it's Arkansas, and he says this. It's like, all right, man, well, you got to come to Bud Walton Arena. And he even said, I called it bullet point material. I think he meant bulletin board, but it's you got to come back. And I feel like the guy at the Bud, I think I know who they're probably going to target in this one.
Yeah, I wouldn't. If
I wouldn't either.
But man, if it was Eric Musselman still the coach, he'd be printing off a bunch of pictures of Keshan Hall and putting it on guys' windshields. And remember when he did all that?
Yes.
I think it was like for defensive rebounding or something. I don't know. You got the point across or whatever. But and I'm going to be really interested to see how motivated Arkansas is to, that's a get back game. They've had some of those where like Texas Tech from last year that carried over, and they're like, hey, we took that personal. I hope you took this one personal, because you got to see him again in Bud Walton and you need to get your revenge back. But yeah, it would have been cool to have Hall. It would have been weird. There's one basketball, and he is a high usage guy. And you think about Akuff and some of these other guys who are struggling to find their flow in the offense and their shots. Think about DJ and Carter and those dudes. And then what would you do? Like, because he plays the 4, and that's what makes him a weird matchup. So would you just go with Trevin and whichever other transfer you took at the 5 and just do a bunch of small ball? Would you have added another body? It would have been a little bit confusing there. So from a roster makeup standpoint, yeah, you'd love to have an All-American forward, but it would have been a little bit weird. They would have had to mix and match some things differently.
Here's what I would do if I were John Calipari. And I'm sure he's listening, so listen close, Cal. On February 13th, I would call Carter into the office and I would say, listen, you see this clip from Keshan Hall? He's talking about you, son. I told Keshan Hall, I called him on the phone, and I said, Keshan, I'm giving Carter Knox $2 million to come back to school for me, to turn down the NBA draft, and I don't want anything to do with you because I think Carter's better than you. And now he scores 30 whatever on you, and he is talking about you. You are who he is referencing that I thought was more worthy, and I feel like I made the right decision. Go prove me right, son. That's the way I would frame this. And then I would call Billy Richmond in. I'd give the same speech. Billy, he's talking about you, son. Trevin, he's talking about you, son. I'd do it for all of them.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. That'd be awesome. And I think he should. But I'm telling you also right now, bet Saracen, go ahead and put in some prop plays on any flagrants or technicals that might get called in that game. in the Arkansas Auburn game, because I just feel like if there's an over under, not saying anything gets out of control, but I have a feeling, there's going to be something with, a Nick Pringle forearm shiver, just something random like that, or Billy doing a hard foul.
It ain't going to come from Nick Pringle, but maybe somebody there. Yeah.
I'm just saying, he's when he does get in, when he does actually play, but still, I feel like there could be some chippiness going on. But either way, I'm excited about the game back in Bud Walton Arena once again. That's for sure. So
need to get that one.
Please get that one. Let's get to your chats, folks. But I want to remind everybody the Hickey and Hole Law is the official law firm of us here at Inside Arkansas, because no matter what it is, when it comes to the legal issues that you may be going through, or anything that you need help with all the reading and material and all the laws that you may not know anything about, it's just a lot of time to do a lot of research. Well, don't do it yourself. Let the pros, let the best in the business do it with Hickey and Hole Law, because they're going to help you each and every step of the way. It doesn't matter if it's the most important type of things like divorce and custody cases or criminal cases. Maybe you have to do civil litigation. Maybe it's a personal injury case that you had. It could even be estate planning. No matter what it is, they're going to help you out and walk you through it each and every step of the way, and build that strong relationship by providing honest, principled advice and representation, because they understand that it is crucial to their clients that they keep them updated on all their cases and provide that advice and counsel throughout the process. And that's exactly what you're going to get with Hickey and Hole Law. So give them a call today at 479-434-2414. That's 479-434-2414. You can also visit their website at hickeyandhole.com. Scan that QR code right there on your screen. It's Hickey and Hole Law. Things are about to get better. All right, let's go ahead and get into your chat, folks. Appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out. We'll have best and worst of the weekend coming up as well. But as we all know, super chats get read first. And the rules, John Pigman says super mega positive stream. So thank you. Let's hope so.
I feel like I've lived up to that on this stream. I feel like I've been very chipper.
It's not over yet. Yeah. It's not over yet though. So we got to maintain it. There's a lot of stream left. So it could all change on a dime. But Chance Nichols, appreciate super chats. He goes, we lose out on Metcalf. I mean, I don't know if you've lost out on anything, but I also don't know how much you're in on Metcalf to begin with.
Yeah, that's the thing. Neither one of them have committed anywhere yet, but
yeah. See. I mean, it could happen, but it'd be a pretty cool addition if that actually transpired. It would be really cool.
And and TJ had a pretty good year at Michigan too. Like he's gonna be coveted, So.
Oh yeah, because I think I saw that he's like the number 8 safety in the transfer portal ranking, something like that.
Yeah, 120 or top 130 overall.
Yeah. I mean, I would be shocked if he ends up going to some place like NC State, I guess is what I'm saying. Like he's probably going to end up
Wolfpack shade. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know who the coach is there. I don't know anything about him. So that's why I mentioned him. Because I know
Will Wade's running both there.
Yeah, probably so. And still getting mad at people in press conferences. Shout out to Tucker. He says, I think the LSU wide receiver just put the nail in the Simmons coffin.
These two things have nothing to do with each other. We talked about the LSU wide receiver who's mostly a kick returner, but also even if you're bringing him in to play wide receiver, which I'm sure he'll get a chance, he's not like that type of guy. Like the Chris Marshall addition, I could see how you would come up with that because Chris Marshall is going to actually start and play a lot of snaps for Arkansas at receiver. The LSU kid has nothing to do with Malcolm Simmons. Although I don't think Malcolm Simmons is coming. I don't think the two are related at all.
Yeah. Because a lot of people are bringing up, which I understand, like the Chris Marshall, and I just want y'all's thoughts on it. What do you make about, when you take the risks on the, certain players that could be highly talented, but also have, some off the field issues or have had some struggles? Like, you always want to have the feel good story of coming back and making something for yourself, but you also got to make sure your team and your chemistry and your foundation strong. I think it's something that like we don't know the ins and outs of it, but it's always just going to be in the back of everyone's mind of like, oh, well, what if this doesn't work out? You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
no, I'm with you. It's like a risk reward thing. And there's more risk involved when it's your first team. Like when you're new on the job and you take a risk like that, it's tough because you got a lot of pressure to go out and get some star power and some difference makers in a league like the SEC. Like you're going to be expected to start turning this thing around pretty quickly. Like in the transfer portal era, there's not as much patience. You used to get 3 or 4 years to kind of rebuild, but now you just got to reload and show some results pretty immediately. So sometimes you have to do things like this to get that type of talent in here. And you just got to trust your evaluation. You got to trust yourself as a leader of men and everything like that. And, that's one thing that I will say about Silverfield is I do remember going into that game against Arkansas last year when he was at Memphis and everything we saw about him in the buildup and all that, it seemed like he's a very culture-oriented dude. So, you know, you got to do your research, do your background checks, talk to people who know him and have been around him, and then see what you can do for him. But hopefully surrounding him with other good people will get the best out of him.
Yeah, it's a big test for your team chemistry, team morale, team culture, all those things. And so you have to trust that, hey, we are going to be the right leaders for him. We also are going to surround him with some guys that we think will be good influences. We think that he'll, you know, see somebody like Monte Harrison or someone who's 57 years old can be an unk to him or whatever. You say, hey, we like this. This is a big test for KJ Jackson, by the way, as a leader. Hey, if you're going to be a quarterback in the SEC and you're going to take control of this team, we want to see you make the most out of this relationship, get the most out of Chris Marshall. It's a nice little learning lesson for him. I also think what helps Arkansas here is they have all the leverage. You know what I mean? Like if he comes in and he's spouting off and causing issues or whatever, you've been kicked out of 2 SEC schools. We'll be the third. You can hit the road. This is your final year. You don't really have any other options. Like if it doesn't work out for you at Arkansas, you're not going to get picked up by Miami. You know what I mean? Like if it doesn't work out for you here, you're going to kind of be in trouble. And so it's like, you either are going to get with the program or you're not, you know what I mean? And so I get that would also leave a pretty big hole at receiver for Arkansas. But I think you kind of, as the coach here, as the team that you're bringing him into, you hold all the cards and you just have to be you have to try to get the most out of him. And he's a super talented kid who we'll see if he's been able to kind of turn the corner and learn from his mistakes. It helps that he's coming off of the first year of his career where he actually was able to get in games, be productive, be a positive piece for a team, although there was a little bit of a shenanigans involved there, but he at least played 10 games, which is a step in the right direction.
Let's send that man to Idaho to get his mind right, you know?
Yeah. as one would do.
That's where you go. The home of the Potato Bowl is where you fix your career.
Yeah,
that's right. That's absolutely right. Shout out to our guy Peyton from Blue Ember says, really hoping Antonio Jordan makes the jump we need from him, which I think that's also something that I think, we heard about a lot of him in fall camp. And I remember we were very like, hey, this is awesome, but he's also still a true freshman. We know that there's a lot more than just being a great athlete. Didn't really see much of him. I know he dealt with injury and all that, but I'm kind of hoping he makes that jump too. Because if he's as amazing athletically as advertised, which we've heard about, I mean, he's got all the potential in the world, but there's more to it than just being athletic. You got to know how to run routes. You got to know how to have plays. You got to know how to fight off cornerbacks, and you have to have good hands and all of that. But it'd be, if he makes the jump and he starts, really contributing, then you're going to feel a lot better about it. But you just don't know at this point in time. Mm-hmm. You just don't know. Gage says, any word on Mubinga?
Dude, so Dudley brought him up yesterday, and so he took his visit to Arkansas first. And we always talk about, do you want the first or the last or the third, or where do you want? Dudley made it seem like Arkansas, he left that visit with Arkansas feeling very good about Arkansas, and Arkansas felt very good about him. And he's gone on some of these other visits, and that remains true. Arkansas still feels like they're in a position to land him. He still feels very good about Arkansas, is still, communicating with Arkansas beat writers and stuff. So it's like, you never know how these things play out. I think he's just now wrapping up his visits, so he should be announcing here soon. And I know that we were talking earlier, some of these guys, you don't hear things and you get a little nervous. Not saying that that isn't the case here, that he couldn't go somewhere else, but it does seem like he is still very much an option for Arkansas, which would help. I think he would fit in right there at tackle as well.
Yeah. I think that just taking it from the predictional crystal ball stuff, on three feels like Nebraska's at 75% and South Carolina's at 25% for them. But hey, that one guy, which his name just escaped me, the guy that they said was like a 99% to Florida State, ended up signing with Arkansas. So it's not always correct, but he's still, I feel like, hey, everybody's in the mix right now until they're not. You could still have one of these into the midnight hour type of things, and then they change their mind. It could absolutely happen. Mm-hmm. So Pooh Bear the Prophet says, I'd say Ryan Silverfield was way better than Petrino last year. Top 10 in yards per game isn't that good. Ryan Silverfield was ranked 19th nationally in scoring offense. I'd rather have that than yards any day of the week.
I think we would all rather have points than yards. Little bit off there on your assessment. Memphis was 25th in the country in scoring offense, and that was against, they were in the American Conference. Arkansas was 23rd in scoring offense, and that was against an SEC schedule. So,
Mm-hmm.
This is apples to oranges in like 7 different ways. You're talking about a head coach and an OC. You're talking about an American athletic team and an SEC team. And I know they played each other and Memphis won. That's all great, but it's like very different comparison. Like there's not really much you can, draw parallels to between the two situations or the two people. I'm talking about two completely different human beings
Absolutely.
that have different backgrounds, that have different styles, have
Philosophy,
different
yeah.
players,
Yep.
have different schedules. There is nothing that these two young men share in common.
Yeah. Well, I'll even throw it too. It's like, we'll never know. But if you just like took Arkansas's offense and players, personnel, Petrino, and everything, and just stuck them over there in the American, with I guarantee you they would have
One is what they would have been in yards, scoring,
Yes.
all that.
Yeah. Yeah. But also to the point that you guys made too, it's like, yeah, you can't look at it through that lens of how it all. Arkansas's problem wasn't offense and scoring all that. It was just whatever the game it was, whatever they needed the problem to be is what the problem was. And the games they lost where the offense was great, the defense sucked. And then the games that the defense was great, the offense sucked. And then the game that they had no turnovers, no penalties were there. The game that they had all the turnovers, the penalties were great. It's like, just, again, it had nothing to do with just one thing. It was just whatever it needed to be for them to lose is how it happened. So that's what it was.
John, hit the breaking news button. Do we have the breaking news button?
I'm going to make one
like
real quick.
Breaking news based on
Is
your
it bad?
vibes.
Yeah, is it bad or good? Let's start there.
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll just do the.
Darius Akuff earns his 5th straight SEC Freshman of the Week.
5 straight, he did it.
Oh my gosh, man!
Yes.
And hell, why not? 26-9 on the road at Ole Miss and a win. They stunk it up on Saturday. He still had 19. There we have it. For a record-setting 5th straight time, Arkansas guard Darius Akuff was selected as SEC Freshman of the Week. Akuff is the first player in SEC history to earn the honor in 5 consecutive weeks, and is the 13th player in league history since the award started in 1988 to earn the honor at least 5 times in a season. Here's the list of the SEC guys who have done that.
Oh gosh.
Chris Jackson at LSU, that was in 1989. James Robinson, he did it 6 times from Alabama in 91. John Wall, Brandon Knight, Terrence Jones, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Jabari Smith, Ty Washington, Brandon Miller, Josh Hubbard, Trey Johnson. Pretty good company.
Good list right there, man.
Pretty good company. Yeah.
That's like literally like 10 to 12 NBA players, like legitimate NBA players right there.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
That's 5 in a row. Why not? Hey, make it 6. Like go for 6.
Oh, man.
You got an opportunity here. Why not? What's funny though is he's still going to not win Freshman of the Year. They're going to find some way to not give it to him.
Probably.
Or co-freshman of the year.
6 is the most
in a row.
6 period.
Oh
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So he'll probably break the all-time.
So we're talking about freshman of the millennium is what we're talking about. He's not freshman of the week. He's not freshman of the month. He's not freshman of the year. This is not even freshman of the decade because you're reading stats from 91. This is freshman of this civilization.
Goes all the way back to 88. Goes back to my birth year since I've been alive.
And you're 58.
It's crazy, man.
Good Lord.
So. Okay, relax because I was born in 88 too. So let's chill out. But yeah, that is awesome though. I'm not saying that I was worried he wasn't going to win it because I'm like, okay, well, who else is going to get it? But still, that's definitely something to add to your resume and something to add to Cal's resume. Going to any of these freshmen, hey, look at that, huh? Not only do I get you drafted into the NBA, I have you break records in this conference with all the great players. So that's awesome though. That's really cool.
Good for him, man.
In fact, if he doesn't break the record, something went bad. Something went very, very awry, which I do not want.
Well, dude, this is the worst week he's played in a while.
I know. Right. And there's also part of this too is the best 2 freshmen in the conference are at Arkansas right now. Maybe there will be a week where Nate Ament can win it. If he has a big week at Tennessee. Amari Allen at Alabama, really good freshman who's coming on there. But Philon and Holloway take so many shots that his stats aren't always going to be there. There's not that many freshmen who are contributing at a super high level. So he might do it 9 times. It's really not crazy to think that could be the case.
Nate Ament finally had a good game the other day.
He did.
He might have blown his load.
Maybe so. Yeah. Great game in a losing effort. It's crazy.
Yeah, those are my favorites. But no, that's great for him. And again, I can't wait to see how it plays out for him as a freshman. He's been so much fun to watch, and I just hopefully he continues on. He stays healthy. He's had some cramps randomly at times. I think it's what it is, but because he seems to come up hobbling a little bit. But
yeah, he was cramping a little bit. He tweaked his ankle at Ole Miss.
But classic.
Classic.
Yeah, that's why we should never play in that gym. It's like just injuries prone all over the place. But hey, seriously though, that's awesome for Akuff, and hopefully there's many more of them to come. So we'll have a few more of your chats, and I know we'll get into, of course, our best and worst of the weekend, because there's a lot of fun stuff from the weekend, which is weird because it's a lot, like worse than best. But either way, Tucker also says Wagner looks slower on D this year.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the email I forwarded to you, Curtis, but someone sent me
about why he's not good.
Yeah. There was like one of those inquiries on our website. I was just like, hey, Curtis, he's not good. And I was like, well, he's not saying it to me, so I'm just going to send it to Curtis and do as you will. But
no argument here after what we've seen so far in SEC play. You got to be better, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then, hey, Cats by 21's in here. He says, Cal better start holding them accountable on D. It's not too late, but you just can't flip a switch in March.
Cats, I hope that we see you in the SEC show tonight. I will give you credit. Last year it was like once a day that you would really trigger me and get me going. I just have not felt that so far this season. You almost got me a couple times today. You almost did. But you didn't. I'll entertain it more this evening. But I mean, they do. They've got to be better on defense. Kentucky has to be better everywhere. So it's no team is perfect. That's the thing about the SEC this year. Outside of Vanderbilt, which, like you said earlier, Andrew, people are still kind of like, yeah, but how long is this going to last? Like they don't really have anybody. They got one guy in their rotation taller than 6'7". So. We'll see what it winds up looking like here down the stretch. But yeah, Arkansas's got to improve defensively. They were cheeks defensively this time last year. They turned it around, but it was because they had to, because they didn't have a type of roster that was going to be able to outscore teams. This year they do. So they just need to go from bad to decent defensively, and they can do a lot of the things that they want to. I think right now it's a want to issue though with Arkansas. Mm-hmm. Because if they want to, we've seen them lock down and play some really solid defense. But if they know that they can just outscore teams, they're pretty casual on the other end of the floor. That's a mindset thing. So I agree from the flipping a switch standpoint. If you're going to do it, you need to do it now. And the hope would be that what happened at Auburn when your offense wasn't there to bail you out or keep you in it, it's like, oh, wake up call. We actually do have to get after it on that end of the floor a little bit. So we'll see what they do.
Yeah. By the way, it's like, the SEC was crazy on Saturday. I mean, just things that you never see happen. Like Arkansas gets blown out. Bama loses at home to Texas, like crazy stuff like that. Florida beats the crap out of Tennessee, and Kentucky actually won a game. So yeah, just chaos there on Saturday. Yeah. No, college basketball, just college basketball. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump into our best and worst of the weekend, presented by our friends over at BetSaracen, the #1 sports betting app in the state. It's not even close, and there's a reason for it, because they are the best. And what makes them the best is not only how easy to use their app is and all the great specials and everything, but also the fact that because you rock with us here at Inside Arkansas, we're giving you a great deal in partnership with BetSaracen to where you can bet $25 and you get $250. Not $125 anymore. You're talking about double. Bet $25, you get $250. It's as simple as that. And all you got to do is click the link below in our description, or you can scan that QR code on their screen. It's going to take you to download the app. And when you download the app, use that code InsideAR250. That's right, InsideAR250. It's an exclusive code to where you can bet just $25 and get $250. It's as simple as that to bet on whatever you want. And that's why BetSaracen, one of the many reasons why BetSaracen is the #1 sports betting app. So do it today with BetSaracen, Arkansas's #1 sports wagering app. So, guys, for our best and worst of the weekend, I'll go ahead and I'll start off with my best. Indiana football is an absolute wagon. What they did to Oregon was incredible. And I just wanted to play this video from Coach Sig after the game. Sam Pittman vibes.
Have a great week of preparation and put it on the field.
Coach, I know you're thinking about the next game, but when will you stop and appreciate how special and how historic all of this has been?
I'm really not thinking about the next game. I'm thinking about cracking open a beer.
All right, well, go celebrate with your family. Congrats. Enjoy that beer, Coach.
Thanks.
It's so easy to root for, man. And I'm like, if I'm Pittman, I'm like, hey, cease and desist, buddy. I'm the one that first did that. But it's just cool, man, because I know Indiana, we've talked about them. They're fun to root for. And I'll admit, I'm not doubting them, and I'm stopped doubting them. But to see what they did against Oregon, to beat team twice in a season, that's where I was like, I think we even talked about it. I was like, I was a little weary about it doing that. they beat the crap out of them. Like, it was like Arkansas Auburn basketball, but football version, maybe even worse. And I know it's Miami and Indiana, just like we all predicted before the season started in the national championship game. But my best of the weekend is just Indiana, Coach Sig. Doesn't matter how much they get doubted. Keep thinking, all right, when's it going to fall off? Nope. This team, it might be the team of destiny, and it's just insane how well they're doing it. We'll see what they do against Miami, but they were the best of the weekend because they're just doing things that I would have never dreamed possible with the Indiana Hoosier football program. Man,
they went to Oregon and beat them, in the regular season, and then to just put it on them in that environment, that was really, really impressive. This is one of my best of the weekends also. And good for Sig, man. I love that because he's, the camera always pans to him during the games, and he's a psychopath, right? Like the greatest coaches are a little bit weird, a little bit off, and he has all those tendencies where you're like, okay, this dude might be nuts, but he's also an evil genius type. And then you think back to some of the sound, like the Google me and all that, and it's like, all right. But to see him with a big smile on his face, and he's kind of humanized himself a little bit. For me, at least, I would love to sit down and have a beer with Curt Cignetti.
Oh my gosh!
In fact, there's nothing I would rather do than sit down and have a beer with that man. So I appreciated that, man. I thought it was awesome.
It's got to be to where somebody's got to do some content with beer and cigs. Like do some show or something like that. There it is. It's set. It's done.
I like that. Well, dude, a few weeks ago, we were sitting at Alumni Hall and we had a conversation. And even while we were having this conversation, I was making a point and didn't even believe what I was saying. I was like, well, what's crazy about Indiana is they're undefeated. They're number one. And I'm like, if they were to win this thing and just run their way through the playoff, we'd start looking at their season like it's one of the best seasons in the history of the sport. Because they would be the first. They're going to be the first ever team potentially to go. I guess it would be 16-0, 17-0.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's ever done that just because we haven't had this format and whatever. And then you kind of just think about some of the teams they have to beat now to get in their way. Their regular season was pretty underwhelming, but if they are to win this thing, it is going to be pretty impressive. Now you look at the way they've done it. It's this is one of the best stories in the history of college football, without a doubt.
Yeah, I know. And it just I look back at their schedule. It's they beat Old Dominion by 13 points to start the year. And I'm
gave up an 80-yard touchdown on the first play of the year.
Yeah. And it's they just – I remember, they beat Oregon. Okay, well, they beat Ohio State. There's just always this doubt. But the fact they beat Alabama 38-3 and 56-22 over Oregon, it wasn't even that close. It wasn't even that close. Again, just want to give a lot of credit and respect to them. And we'll see what they do against Miami. Should be a great game that's happening on Monday. Hate that, a week from today for the national championship game, but either way, but that was my best of the weekend.
I like it. Yeah, that was one of mine. Should we give a shout out to the Chicago Bears?
Hey,
yes, I did have a little bit planned for them.
Okay, I thought you might with some NFL stuff, but man, good on them. I've got a bunch of, because I lived in St. Louis for the longest, and I just wound up oddly working with a bunch of people who were from Illinois, a bunch of big Bears fans, and you would have thought they won the Super Bowl, man. But cool comeback, whenever you're able to take care of a nemesis like the Packers or whatever. And I guess they haven't felt a whole hell of a lot of success in a while now. So shout out to the Bears, man. That was pretty cool. Good for them. And worthy for a little best of the weekend action.
Yeah, I just felt like the NFL in general deserved a lot of props. It was just a good weekend of games. The Rams, there's always a team that is, 9-7 or 7-9 or 8-8 or whatever, and they're 8-9 this year that makes the playoffs, and we all kind of are like, oh, this is BS. But the Panthers performed valiantly at home, really pushed the Rams, who might be the favorite to win it all, to the wire. The Bears down 18, you come back. Caleb Williams, dude, we got to give the dude some props. I don't think anybody, even when he was at USC and was winning the Heisman, when he won the Heisman, I don't think any of us were like, oh yeah, this is an iconic player that's about to dominate the NFL. He goes 1-1 and kind of sucks as a rookie. And I didn't come into the season being like, this is going to be the year of the Bears and Caleb Williams. So shout out to Ben Johnson, I believe is their coach that just came over from the Lions, doing a great job. The Bills game was fun. Trevor Lawrence throws a pick on the final possession. That was awesome. Jalen Hurts sucks it up at home. Love that. The only game that sucked was the Patriots game where Justin Herbert now 0-6 in the playoff. Which is tough. I don't think it's his fault, but it's always tough.
Yeah,
we need to give you a carryover, Andrew, best of the weekend, since your Texans are playing tonight. Just so everybody knows, I offered Andrew. I was like, hey, you don't want to do the SEC show? That's fine, or we can reschedule it, whatever. And he was like, no, we're doing it. And he's going to have one eye on each thing here, but his Texans are going to be in a battle while we're live tonight. And I'm going to have to make sure that I'm distinguishing between, is he making that face because I just said something stupid or because something bad happened in this football game? But
I'll be
appreciate you nonetheless.
This the whole time a little bit. Timing wise, it's going to be okay. Where the game starts at about 7:15, 7:20. We'll start at 8. So I'll miss the second quarter, but then there'll be a halftime break, maybe a little bit of the third quarter, but I'll be able to kind of have my eye on it a little bit. Thankfully, you know how my brain works. Monday Night Raw is in Germany today, so they're starting at 1 p.m. So I'll get to take care of that early. That's not gonna interfere. I did see one chatter say that he watched our SEC show, or he watched Monday Night Raw instead of our SEC show, and he's like, "I'm never doing that again."
Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, because you shouldn't do that. That's I don't really know. I'm going to be honest, Andrew. I don't really know who to root for because I don't really like the Texans and I don't really like the Steelers. So I'm sorry, but
you got to go with the Texans, bro. We have nothing, bro. We literally have nothing. There's no history in Houston. There's no
but you have the city, and the city has won championships. So I look at it as a city. Not just a team. It's bigger than that. But still, hopefully will end up being a pretty good one. Speaking of with worst of the weekend, we were talking about this in the NFL. Boy, Big J journalist got really mad over the weekend, and for many reasons because this was wild. This was wild. I'm just going to play it. Of course, Liam Cohen, who's the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We know that the Jaguars lost at home. They went 13-4 this year. Really good year, but ended a little bit short. But this was in the press conference, not in some random thing. In the press conference after the game with a reporter and an exchange, according to Adam Schefter, an incredible exchange with Liam Cohen, and people were really upset about it. Take a listen.
Congratulations on your success, young man. Thank you. Hold your head up, all right? You guys have had a most magnificent season. Thank you. And you did a great job out there today. Appreciate so you just hold your head up, okay? Thank and ladies and gentlemen, Duval, you the one, all right? You keep it going. We got another season, okay? I appreciate it. Take care and much continued success to you and the entire team.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing, guys. This was cringe beyond cringe. This is so cringy. If you want to do this and say this at some other point in time, Tim, or whatever, fine. But in this certain aspect, it's cringe. However, the worst weekend of it for me and why I picked it, and I think you guys may agree a little bit, but it's that was bad and cringy, should never happen. But then the outrage from the actual, quote, Big J journalists that were just disgust. This is just an absolute disgrace to the profession. Us people in the media are hardworking, credentialed members of the media, and this is just a black eye on the whole industry. And I'm like, it's not that serious. It can be just a little bit cringy, which it is, and it was, and it shouldn't happen. Because I'm at when we get credentialed, if you go in there and you say that to Cal, you're probably not going to be invited back. In fact, everyone's going to be like, "Are you okay, Curtis? Do you have up here, you just because you're not doing that. You're not just gonna."
I wouldn't resonate like her though, man. That's different.
I'd say because like I said, it's she just didn't stop. She kept going for a while. Yeah. But either way, it was the worst because of all in regards where it's stupid and shouldn't happen. But then the overreaction from the people in journalism that think it's just the most egregious thing that's ever been done to the profession of journalism was over the top. It was just bad all around. Everyone's at fault. Everyone's wrong for this. But I kind of feel for Liam Cohen because as a coach, what do you do? Other than what he did, he's just thank you. I appreciate it. I just don't know what you could do. So I felt bad for him.
He handled it great. Man. And yeah, it was over the top. It's a weird setting for that. Those are conversations you could have maybe on the side afterwards. A press conference ends, everybody goes up and grabs their recorders or whatever. And it's hey, coach, say what you need to say. But I have at the end of the year done the congratulations on a great season and then ask my question or something. Yes. That stuff is okay. But it was a little bit who is this? What's really going on here? So I get it from that standpoint. I'm a little bit outraged by the outrage to it. I understand to a degree because we've done the journalist stuff before, and I understand that a lot of these guys are on tight deadlines and you need your quotes so you can get your story to who needs to get them, whatever. It was 19 seconds. You know what I mean? And to make it this huge deal about how just unacceptable, unprofessional, relax a little bit. Okay. It'll be all right. Hopefully, for the people who still go and put their quarter in the little machine and get their newspaper in the morning, that 19 seconds didn't stop you from turning your story in on time. Okay. It'll be all right. I promise.
Yeah, I've thought this for years. And, when I was working in, more of a reporter journalism setting, I used to complain about stuff like this all the time. Like, I would get annoyed when stuff would happen, but I wouldn't tweet about it. Right. I would literally just text Curtis, or me and Curtis would be sitting in the media room and I'd be like, God, man, what was that? Matter of fact, I love the guy, love him forever. Bob Holt used to drive me nuts in those press conferences because he would do weird little old guy things that would drive me nuts. And I was just like, come on, let's wrap this up. But I would never tweet and be like, wow, Bob Holt needs to step up. The guy who I think is to blame in all this is Adam Schefter, because I think the three of our reactions is probably what a lot of people felt, where you see the moment and you're like, okay, that's cringe, but like, who actually cares? Like, whatever. You kind of just laugh at it and move on. And, everybody moves on happily. Schefter tweeted it out and said, check out this awesome exchange, which then prompted all the media people to feel like, oh, this woman's getting credit. No, I need to shoot this down. And that caused everyone to take it up in arms and get mad about it, which then caused people to get mad at them. And it just created this whole storm where really, if that moment had just happened, it would have been a moment between her and the coach and the people in that room, and nobody would have ever talked about it again. We all would have moved on and nobody would have cared. But now that it's a public thing, we all have to pretend we have a stance on it. It's the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah. Now, well, I think you brought it up too, Curtis. Like, does this impact anyone from doing their job? No, because it was 19 seconds. But what it does is like, I'm not going to name names, even though I would really love to. But it was like when we were in San Francisco the first time, and there was a certain person from Arkansas that just came in and screwed up the entire press conference situation of where a coach could leave, and that is what it deserves to be like. Hey, that's a shame and that's a disgrace, because it's like because that messes things up. But yeah, just the over the top stuff. I remember I don't know if you guys do, when they fired Bobby Petrino the first time, they kind of had something similar like that, where a former player who was on the radio like did something for Jeff Long and just went on and on about how amazing he was, and it was really uncomfortable and awkward.
Yeah,
so it's like, it's like, ugh. So, anyways, it was frustrating. It was weird, but it's not the biggest deal in the world.
I did see somebody who was fighting the battle against it that was like, it's just very. It's like to the extreme, and that's what makes it too much. Like, what if it was the reverse, and it was like, hey, young man, you did a terrible job and you should be ashamed of yourself. And I was like, all right. But that was like one of those AP writers, and it was mostly them that were really freaking out about this. And I'm very aware of like how that works. I know that some of these guys, they're angling to get certain quotes, and they depend on that type of stuff for their stories. That's why, because I don't write anymore, and now that we're going to be privy to be able to, ask some questions and do some things like that in press conferences again. In the past, I'd be the dude that would have the mic and ask 4 questions in a row, just like everybody else. I'm not going to do that now, because I don't need that as much as they do. I understand that. I know we got a finite amount of time. So there is like a respect, between, it's always difference between like radio and the people who write and stuff like that. I understand it, but the outrage is crazy, and the journalists who take themselves way too seriously always look to get up in arms about something like this. I remember last year at March Madness, the chick from Florida, the student journalist that filmed herself being halfway excited that her college was about to win a national championship, and so many people were quote tweeting that, going, you're not going to make it very far in this business, young lady. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah. I really think like if something directly impacts you and really does change your life and changes what you were going to do, or if they had said, hey, we're only allowing one more question, and you were the guy next in line and that happened, I will hear your gripe. But anyone else mad about it, you're being mad about something that's not a real thing. It's not actually affecting you. There is a 0.0% cause to anything in the world over here.
Yeah. And I know we're going to move on, but just real quick, 2 things. Number one, the fact that there may be some people that care more about that than like actual journalists, like writing falsehoods and like all that stuff. Like they think that like this would be worse than that is wrong to me. And 2, guys, real quick story. I've only had one time where I've upset, I know, with a question at a press conference, local Arkansas media, and it was Nate Allen, rest in peace. He got mad, but because I kind of did something, I know Eddie Radosevich did it too, speaking of him, but we were in one of those scrums. It was Brooks Ellis, and I kind of know Brooks, and he had said something about like, the game, this last game was a lot more fun than what the previous game because they won or whatever. And it was towards the end, and I just go, so Brooks, what you're saying is that you'd much rather win than lose. Is that what you're saying? And Nate darted his eyes at me, and he was like, I was like, I was just trying to mess around, man, just having fun. But then that's when I was like, okay, so this is serious stuff. I was just trying to mess around a little bit, but that's the only time I can remember.
Of like making faces when people would ask questions and stuff. There's some funny gifs of him out there.
Oh, yeah. So I was just like, all right, man, I was just trying to have some fun with it. But anyways, that was my only time that doing it. But either way, I know that was probably some worse. So what other things you guys got, if any, for worst of the weekend?
Let's see. We touched on most of the good ones. I will say, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but Chicago State basketball. Did y'all see this?
Yes. Dude.
Oh my gosh, bro. All right, Andrew.
Brutal.
Chicago State, it's D1 team. They were up 2 with the ball with 0.1 seconds left, and they lost. They lost the game. They called a timeout when they didn't have one. Stonehill made 2 free throws, sent it to overtime, and then beat them.
Goodness.
Brutal stuff, man. Just
that is a worst of the weekend.
That is a worst of the weekend.
That's as bad as it is, because 0.1 seconds, if my math is right, you literally can't get a shot off in that.
Yeah.
So even if you had thrown inbounded the ball and just thrown it out of bounds and it's their ball, you still have 0% chance of losing.
Exactly. And they had the ball and the lead.
Right.
They could have taken the 5 seconds and Stonehill could have gotten the ball and not been able to do anything with it. Just
you could have thrown the ball right to them, actually. You could have thrown a lob toward their basket and still probably wouldn't have been able to get it in.
Yeah. Dodgeball, hit somebody with it. Yeah, it's just whatever you want to do except that. So yeah, it's brutal, man.
Yeah, shut down your program. Shut it down.
Yeah, that is tough. With Chicago State, that's what I know about them is they're like the worst D1 basketball program in the country.
Yep. Yes, they are.
Yeah, that's brutal right there. So I want to be very sensitive here, and I don't want to do anything stupid. Are we going to talk about the Casey Dick situation?
Yeah. Well, I was going to lead it to, because we had a super chat of somebody I wanted to correct because they used it was
Tyler Wilson. Bring that up. Yes.
Yeah, Fishman said Tyler Wilson's my worst of the weekend. Tyler did nothing. I know Tyler's fine. He's doing a great job. Like, about to get married.
I think he followed up a little bit after that and was like, I think I screwed that up.
Yes.
Like other Razorback quarterback from 10 plus years ago. John, you set the stage because you are close with Casey and, have a relationship with Fayetteville High, Fayetteville High grad. So I feel like you're qualified to set the stage, and then I will share my reaction after, and I'll be polite.
Yeah. So essentially what it was, folks, is that Casey Dick, in case you didn't know, just dropped a bombshell on Twitter. Just really incendiary, because he is the Fayetteville High School football coach and is a former Razorback and everything. But he just came out and really set everyone ablaze, because it was a lot of people were just not really understanding what happened. And he deleted the tweet, but the tweet said, "Disappointed in my university's approach to the recruiting process of a high school athlete. Situations like this are not good for high school athletics or the sport of football. Moving forward, at Razorback football and at Ryan Silverfield will not be welcome in our facilities." So am I hearing something crazy? What is going on? Was that me? Did I do that? Am I tripping?
I'm not hearing anything, buddy.
Holy crap, dude. I just had like blaring CN news or something like that in my ear. Sorry. Anyways, wow. Anyways, so you had something like that where the said it was, he tweets out that he's tweeted out that he was upset, but the real incendiary part was, they are not welcome in our facilities anymore. And I was like, what's going on? Well, according to some of the reports and everything, basically Hank Hendricks, who is his starting quarterback, or was going to be his starting quarterback this upcoming season, 4-star player, really good quarterback, a high offer list and everything. Apparently the university, Ryan Silverfield and the staff went to him and his family, said, hey, we want him to reclassify so he can be available now, and he can come to campus now, and he can be a Razorback now. And they did all the things behind the scenes. And essentially, he was going to become their number 3 guy, is what it was, given to him as far as being the 3rd stringer. And then it all got agreed to. And then after the fact is when Casey Dick found out, when it was all said in stone. So he was very upset that they didn't even get a phone call or anything, and took to Twitter to say that. Since when he deleted it and says, hey, I got caught up in the motions. I'm looking forward to talking, everything like that. So anyways, that's pretty much how it all went down.
So this is another prime example of you don't always have to voice your opinion. Which is, again, what I thought went wrong with the journo thing is, if you're annoyed by someone asking a question, that's fine. You don't have to make a whole stink about it on Twitter. I think Casey, frankly, is well within his rights to be rubbed wrong and annoyed by how the situation played out. You've got your quarterback. You're excited for his senior year. You've got all these plans, and now you're not going to have him, and you weren't looped in on the conversation. It's fair to be like, hey, I would have appreciated a phone call. Hey, Ryan Silverfield, maybe loop me in on that conversation since I'm a former Razorback and I do a lot and blah, blah, blah. That's all fine and dandy, but you just did not have to make the statement. And he knows this. Like, obviously he knows it. He took down the tweet. He put out his apology. That's all fine. But I thought that was a little bit tough. And I think we don't need to like bag on him because I think he understands it. He understands. I'm sure he's going to have a conversation with Silverfield, make sure that relationship's good. But definitely would not if you're the head coach at a high school that has an SEC school in your backyard where most of your kids are like that's their dream school. Maybe don't say you're not going to invite the staff into that facility to watch your kids because that's going to be tough. But I think Casey knows that. He apologized, and it's all fine. And frankly, I hope that relationship does get mended and they have a good thing. Because, I mean, listen, there's always good kids at Fayetteville. They're right there. It would be ideal for the head coach of the Razorbacks and the head coach of the Purple Bulldogs to be pals. There's always good kids at Fayetteville, and there are always good kids who wind up at Fayetteville, and it's no coincidence due to the proximity of the school there. That's another thing of it. Like, understand why you have some of the resources that you have. And I think it sounds like there's probably miscommunication or a lack of communication both ways. Like there's probably some fault here on both sides, but sure. The worst thing to do when it's a personal deal is to go to social media, man. And that wasn't even like subtweeting anybody. Like you added them, bro. Like you said it with your chest. And like some people said in here, you know, you can delete a tweet, but the internet lives forever, man. Screenshots don't go away. So I'm glad that it was like a retraction and he said what he said. Weird deal. It was a very strange situation over the weekend for sure. Well, you know, what I thought was weird about it. So like, listen, getting someone to reclassify, like I get why that's tough on the high school coach, but it's like, it's not like Arkansas invented that tactic or that this is like a brand new situation. Like players have been reclassifying at the request of their college coaches. I mean, Robert Moore, Dave Van Horn in December. You want to talk about being mad? He made Robert Moore reclassify in December while he was in high school and was like, I want you on campus next week. I'm sure his high school coach wasn't thrilled about it, but it's like, what are you going to do? Say, hey, no, don't go to Arkansas. Don't go to your dream school and go make a bunch of money. So I think that's where it's like, I think Casey, as annoyed as he should be, should see the value in this of having your quarterback get to go play for his dream school a little bit earlier and getting to kind of go ahead and start his path. You can spin that as a good thing if you're the Fayetteville high school coach.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I hope, and again, I don't know what Casey would think one way or the other. I hope that it would be okay. I think just what the biggest issue was is that he got blindsided by it, and I think that was the problem, and which I can kind of agree because again, it's like you're pressured as a high school coach too. It may not be as big of a deal as the Razorbacks, and I get it, but it's like you have to win, and you know if you're going into the years like I got my starting quarterback and he's awesome, and then suddenly you're just told, hey, you don't because we did this. It's like, dude, like I think just the blindsided nature of it is what really set it off. So sure. I don't know, but like you guys said, it was just sad. You know, it's just sad, something you don't want to see, and hopefully it all gets amended and everything, and hopefully it doesn't get brought. But I will say, I don't know when the next time we'll hear from Ryan Silverfield, but I wonder even if it's like a month from now, does it get like kind of brought up like, hey, you and Casey good now? Like what happened there? Maybe get his side because we've only heard at least from reports from Casey's side, but like maybe get more into that and see. Who knows? But either way. It is crazy though to think that's like, hey, just skipping your entire high school season. I personally think it's crazy, and this is just me. It's like, man, I feel like you're playing like real reps and being a part of a team and being the starter and being a leader and all that for a full year is really beneficial, to get you ready. So, but again, I'm not the kid, I'm not the family. They can do whatever they want. I just think that's just wild to imagine skipping your senior year to go at Arkansas and. Because he's not going to play probably for 2, 3, 4 years. So I don't know. Anyways,
most of the time it is a basketball player who's going to be in the 8-man rotation or a pitcher that might actually be able to play. Yeah, I don't know. There aren't a ton of reclassifying guys that we know aren't going to play. That is fair.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so a few more chats before we get out of here, folks. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Some of the super chats. Fishman just went ahead and said, worst of the weekend, me confusing Casey for Wilson. So yeah, it's okay. It happens.
It's actually wild under any circumstance, but we forgive you. Yes.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping, I know he doesn't, but I was kind of hoping Tyler Wilson was like watching. He sends me a text like, dude, what the heck? Like, what did I do?
He should send that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's see. Paddlefish says, John, if we got Sig instead of Pitt, Natty already. Well, I mean, they don't have a Natty yet, so I guess it would just depend. But no, because something stupid would happen with Arkansas, and that's just what happens.
Plus, he would have had to play in the SEC. Like it probably would. His path to building what he's built at Indiana would have been still a harder one. But yeah, we wouldn't be coming off 2-10. I'll tell you that.
No, absolutely. And Paddlefish says Curtis Keshan Hall, Hog Comp, JD, Council, Amude?
None of the above.
I would say neither of those.
Hall's better than all those guys, different than all those guys. I don't know. Not same. He's closer to Mason Jones than he is any of those three guys there. He's more of a 4. I don't know that there's a really good recent comp of a Razorback to Keshan Hall. They haven't had a first-team All-American 4-man in a while, so
Vance Jackson, if he was good.
yeah, I mean,
Vance Jackson was supposed
Jackson
to be.
would be, yeah.
I'd say I was just going to throw as like a Marshawn Powell, like, like just something that where it's like
Powell's a little bit more like post-oriented, but like Powell, if he played today, would be shooting threes and would be stretching the floor. So,
right, yeah. Hall is he's different, man. He's a bucket.
Yeah, absolutely. A few more here. Mason McGuire says Arkansas baseball is here. Glad we were back to practice. So,
boys out there getting better, sharpening the tool set.
Yeah,
exciting stuff. I'm excited to watch Friday, by the way. If anybody, it's going to be cold as ice, but Friday, it'll be like 40 degrees. They'll be scrimmaging at Bomb if anybody wants to come check that out.
Good. Got to toughen them up. Got to get them ready for the cold baseball season. But that'll be great. In fact, and I also like this from Mr. Snows. It says, Ellis, how often do you catch yourself looking at your chin in John's background? So
honestly, never, because I'm always looking at other stuff, whether it's chat or just my phone or whatever. But I always see people saying that they are looking at my chin.
Looking at anything but the show, like is basically what Ellis is saying, like looking at anything but the screen. But no, I have a different background for it. I just forgot to put it up there, and it's going to just be staying that way because I'm kind of tired of having to be like, geez, because I'll admit this fully to you guys. Like when I was recording my Locked On, I just kind of put on like a YouTube video, and it goes to the next video. The next video that it went to, I don't know what it was, but it was like this like crazy sports. Like goofy stuff that was going on in the background. I'm like, okay, I just need to actually start like planning this ahead. I don't need all that crap. So, but either way, let's see. Hey, our RS Sports says, looking forward to seeing how much the improved basketball Bulldogs match up against your Hogs, which is this Saturday. So
yeah. Shout out to Georgia, man. They, I think I had them 15th in my preseason, and they've exceeded all those expectations. They look good. That's gonna be a fun one on Saturday. It should be because Arkansas gets South Carolina at home. Georgia, I think, gets Ole Miss at home. It should be a battle between 3 and 1s, and it's the 2 teams that lead the country in fast break points. So it has all the makings of a game that should be a whole hell of a lot of fun on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, late tips and long travel arrangements. What Arkansas's had to go through here this to start, but hey, it's just the way it is. Just the way it is. So also finally we'll go into this one. David just says no Quinn today. Interesting.
There's big wins Saturday. I mean, he Bears and Auburn. That's an awesome day for Quinn.
Yeah. He told me he'd be in the SEC show tonight though.
Fair enough.
He told me last week he wasn't ready to go. He's like, I'm not going in there because you guys are going to crap on Auburn too much. I was like, it won't be that bad.
And we really
of course he'll turtle walk in tonight. That's crazy. But I'm looking forward to hearing his takes.
He did jump into Sunday Scaries last night and with some super chats. And then immediately a fight broke out in the chat. And I'm like, okay, just immediately just crazy stuff getting said. So he's at least done that. But he'll be back. He can crow. He's had a good weekend. And Bama lost too in basketball. So he's definitely flying high if that's the case. So, but fellas, any final thoughts before we roll out of here for the day? You just see you at 8, for the SEC show, and we're looking forward to that. It's a good time. Me and Andrew get on there and talk ball, and it was the first episode last week, and so we didn't really know what to expect, and we were like an hour and a half in before we even got to chats. It will not be that case this time. So hop in there, throw your hot takes in, and we'll get to them a lot earlier this week for sure. Yeah, I like that. Looking forward to 8 o'clock, seeing everybody there. My final thought is literally just clarification, because I've been seeing people in the chat talking about the reclassifying thing. Very much can confirm this is not a new thing. Like, this is not a thing that Arkansas invented. It's not a everyday occurrence, but it's very much like every single year, football, basketball, and baseball. I'd say there's a dozen kids that do it. Quarterbacks do it. Quinn Ewers did it. JT Daniels did it. I think Austin Simmons, that kid at Ole Miss who's now transferring, this is a very, it's a common thing. It's not a super common, everyone has to do it, but this is definitely not like some unknown circumstance. And I feel like that context is important if you're determining how you feel about the situation. Other than that, have a great day, everybody. See you at 8. Yeah, It's going to be awesome. I know that a lot of things going on in the sports world, especially here with Arkansas. So be sure to keep it right here on Inside Arkansas for any time of whether it's Inside Arkansas Live, Pod at the Palace, a bombastic podcast, Inside Arkansas Recruiting with Transfer Portal, keeping you update on that. The SEC, Inside SEC Basketball Live tonight at 8 p.m. We got it all going on. We got plenty of content for you each and every day right here on Inside Arkansas. So be sure to subscribe to us. Check us out wherever audio podcasts are found. And also check us out on social media at Inside Arkansas as well. And that'll do it for us today. For Andrew Ellis, as well as Curtis Wilkerson, intern Cameron, I'm John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel. Tomorrow at noon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you tonight for the Inside SEC Basketball live stream starting at 8 p.m.